Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 367, Trust Yourself. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host, and I'm here today with my producer, who is talented and amazing, Mr. Sean Kilgore.
Thank you so much. One of these times, I'm going to have to introduce you so I can say all the nice things about you. Because you always say such nice things about me, and it always makes me blush right before I come on. Look at how rosy I am. That's it. Welcome, everybody. This is episode 367 of the Experience of the Soul podcast with my friend and yours, Cynthia Alice Anderson. We're so excited to be here with you today. Today's Monday, June 30th. But of course, you might be joining us at any time. So welcome whenever you are joining us. We're happy that you have that you're listening. So thanks for being there. Before we jump in today, to today's episode, which is called Trust Yourself, we want to give you another segment of This Week in Spiritual History. So it is time once again to take a meaningful pause and reflect on moments in spiritual history that still speak to our hearts and lives today. All right. So June 30th is what's known as the Feast of the 12 Apostles. So we start with this today, also honoring the first martyrs of the Church of Rome. These early disciples helped lay the spiritual foundation of Christianity and remind us of the power of devotion, courage, and a life lived in service to something greater than ourselves.
Very, very good, Sean. I love this one. Yeah, it's just causing me to pause.
That's good.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That one hit deep.
Nice. Also, so from June 29th and June 30th in the year 1912 was Abdul and Baha'i's Unity Feast. So there's a lot of feasting happening around this time of year, it seems.
It seems like a really good idea to feast.
Right. Yeah. So it's in 1912, the Abdul and Baha'i, spiritual leader of the Baha'i faith, hosted what's now called the Unity Feast. This happened in New Jersey in 1912. So he gathered people from all different backgrounds. So there were Christians, there were Jewish people, there were Muslims, there were Baha'i, and lots more. I mean, I guess it was like all encompassing, truly a unity event. A beautiful act of spiritual unity at a time when the world felt deeply divided. Is there another time when the world feels deeply divided? I guess we just need to have a feast.
That's the problem, right? That's the problem.
Right. So this is the living example of harmony in action. But I think did you have something to say there?
Well, the thing that it was brought up into my consciousness again is, and here's the Baha'i faith now coming back around as well. And what I think we're going to start to see, Sean, as we do these over time, we're going to see certain leaders in our history that seem to rise to the top in terms of some of these topics. The Quakers have come up several times, and now Baha'i several times, and of course Buddhism and different aspects of Christianity and Judaism as well. But I hope our listeners are enjoying this as much as we are, because I think it really helps us to understand, again, just to bring home this point, all religion is meant to bind us together, not separate us. That's what the word religion actually means, to bind together. So I find it kind of inspiring that even then, so many years ago, this was happening in a move towards unity.
Yeah. And somehow we've gotten so far away from that meaning, that true meaning of the word religion. It's like, people believe that it is something that is meant to separate us and divide us, and
I mean,
it just was never
the cause
intent.
of wars. No, the cause of wars at times.
Yeah. Also, on this day, June 30th, in 2005, Spain became the fourth country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage. This was a significant spiritual and cultural shift. We're celebrating this with Spain, as we are celebrating Pride Month here in the States. This milestone, that might be worldwide. I don't know. Is Pride Month worldwide in June? I don't know.
I think it is, yeah.
Okay. So this milestone reminds us of the sacredness of love in all forms, and how inclusion and equality and diversity are part of our collective spiritual evolution.
Yeah, it's funny how somehow those words have been made like almost bad words.
Yeah.
It's about love, inclusivity, support, and connection. And the thing I haven't talked about much on the show, but maybe we'll do a whole show about this, is in the indigenous cultures, there's no issue around same sex relationships and sexuality. It's always been a part of culture, and it's always been looked at as a gift, not a curse, and as someone special to be learned from, because they understand both sides, both sexes, usually in a different way. So I'm not trying to elevate it by any means above something else, but just simply to say that there is something to be celebrated in this. And I think we all grow. I think we all grow rather in our understanding and in our knowledge when we can support each other in our differences. I mean, these are the people I've learned from in my life, not people that were exactly the same as me, but people that were different. And this is how we learn, to be better human beings. So I'm all for celebrating pride and celebrating Spain. I just spoke to someone this morning from Spain.
No way.
Interestingly enough, yeah. Spirit has really been on target for me lately. I can't help but notice Spirit's activity in my life. So, yeah.
It's beautiful. So, and then to wrap it up, June 30th, and this is our just for fun fact today, is International Asteroid Day.
What?
So it's a day to look up at the night sky and remember we're part of something vast, something mysterious, and something truly beautiful. It's a cosmic reminder that we're all connected, not just to one another, but something far beyond ourselves.
Beautiful.
So we want to leave you with a question to reflect on as you go throughout your week. As always, as you look within and even look up, how are you being called to honor courage, unity, and the sacredness of love in the world that's still expanding, evolving, and orbiting with possibility?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I was just talking with the kids at church the other day because I was asking the kids in the children's lesson, what were they doing this summer? And one of them, a young girl, said she was playing Fortnite. I was like, oh my goodness, could you go outside at all?
Can you do that outside?
Can you go outside? Can you? And I was talking to them about looking up at the night sky and connecting with it. And, anyway, so that's always been a favorite.
The message you put out a couple of weeks ago on the blog and in the email that was about fireflies, because for me that was a huge part of my childhood. I mean, we probably weren't supposed to catch them and put them in jars. That probably is not so good, but that was that was what we did. That was that was a summertime evening favorite pastime.
That was a big activity. That was big news.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking, there was never a time when we weren't outside in the summertime.
Right. That's right. You ate watermelon outside. You drank tea. Yeah. You drank iced coffee. You went out with lemonade and spoke to the neighbors and saw what was blooming or picking what was ripening or Man, for us.
Don't you think, wouldn't it be great to go back to that? There was this commercial, I forget what it was, but it was the whole premise of the commercial was, I know what it was. It was for Chinet. I don't know if that matters if we say that or not, but it was called The Lost Art of Getting Together. And basically it was neighbors around a table having a barbecue, but they were in a museum. So you're walking through this museum that's the lost art of getting together, and you're seeing, people used to actually talk to their neighbors and sit down and have meals with them. We're looking at it,
I love it.
So, what's funny is I actually wrote to the company when I saw that, because I thought, man, this is so powerful. So I just, on Facebook, I think I did, I wrote a message saying, what a great commercial, what a great message. And they sent me this whole package of Chinet, paper plates and cups and all this stuff. It was so nice.
Oh, I love that. We could be, we could do a little mini commercial on the show. Yeah,
sponsored by Chinet.
Well, anyway. I mean, it is the lost art of connection is really what we're talking about. Yeah. But that was beautiful. And that was such a powerful memory for me, being out with the fireflies and going to sleep, looking at them just hovering over me was
Yeah.
A beautiful, beautiful memory. That's one of the memories I share in my upcoming book. So it's a lot of fun. And what I also read, unfortunately, the reason we don't see them now is that people are using pesticides, and because of how pesticides work on the grass, the fireflies, or as we call them, lightning bugs, the fireflies' eggs live in the grass, and if you put pesticides on your grass, it kills them. So that's why we don't see them anymore. It's too many pesticides. So if you want to bring back the lightning bugs, you got to quit putting what's that stuff, Roundup everywhere, and all those chemicals on your grass, and you'll see them again. I see them when I go to Georgia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the old days of summer. That's it's like this time of year when it's hot, and like we talked a couple of weeks ago about popsicles and like that. I don't know. There's just
well, yesterday at church we did a seed spitting contest for celebrating.
Oh, that's awesome.
For watermelon. I usually win that, but I won't say who won it this time. You'll just have to guess.
No, we'll have to. What happened? You're off your game. You're off your seed spitting game. There was just someone with a stronger spitter, I guess.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Speaking of today's show.
Yes, welcome everybody.
We almost forgot.
I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to throw it over to you. I'll get out of here. All right, welcome everybody. Episode 367. This is Trust Yourself.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself, friends. Trust yourself. Well, friends, I'm really happy to bring the message today. And I was sharing with Sean, I mean, often some of our best shows really come out of the work I'm doing with individuals on their specific individual journey, and seeking to with people seeking to live a better life, seeking to live a spiritual life, a life of joy, a life of peace. And the piece that keeps becoming very, very clear is the idea that everybody is competing for our attention these days. By that, I mean headlines. By that, I mean gossip and anger. By that, I mean political madness is getting our attention. And when that happens, what we're doing is giving a little bit of our power away kind of day by day. And we are at a place now in our society where we don't realize that we've become disempowered simply because we're trusting people outside of ourselves and not ultimately trusting our own inner guide. I often think of it as my inner compass, or my own true north is within. And that even though I have had some powerful spiritual teachers, even though I have a mentor that I work with, ultimately the work, the spiritual connection, the trusting of the divine happens within me and my very own soul. That I take all of what I'm learning, I take it in, I synthesize it, I work with it, and then finally I am able to make whatever decision I need to make and then move forward in faith to do what's mine to do. So I simply wanted to bring this around into consciousness for you, especially after our last interview that aired last week with the very talented singer, performer, teacher, Vivian Aerts. And I have watched her journey and her innate trust, her innate ability rather, to trust her soul journey and to do these experiences, to go places musically, even performance wise, even her next project, how she's recording it re-inspired me about trusting your own inner guide. And I was speaking with a couple of clients recently about this very thing, and about helping them have a question that they work with every single day to help them come into that clarity. And we've talked about this a little on the show, but I wanted to bring it up again because with everything going on politically right now, and just the madness and the over policing and things of that nature, the fear has really been ratcheted up. And I feel that sometimes these questions can be very centering and very peace giving to ourselves and our process. The the questions that I have worked with over the years, one whole year, I worked with the question, what brings me peace? What brings me peace? And that question really, interestingly, over time, helped me release what was no longer helping me, which was no longer bringing me peace. I didn't realize when I started asking that question that the lived experience was, okay, if I'm doing something that doesn't bring me peace, I need to stop doing it. And even though it was a guiding question, I thought it was going to be, what can I add to who I am and what I'm doing to bring me peace? And the opposite was true. That question guided me to release what was no longer bringing me peace in my life and world. It just is not mine to do anymore. And the wonderful thing about it is that things I was doing that had been good before were no longer good for me. In other words, my consciousness had shifted, but I was still doing the same activities. So to ask that question and then make that shift was a move of trust, because I was able to move out of the old behavior. Even though the old behavior wasn't bad, it was good. It just wasn't good for me right now. And that's what I mean about trusting yourself in your process, because no one can tell you that. You can only really know that for yourself. So if you are in the midst right now of making life decisions, which I guess we probably all are, most all the time, dealing with things around our home, our animals that we love and care for, things with our kids and grandkids, we have to ask ourselves, does this bring me peace? Does this bring me peace? And if it doesn't, then we find a new way. We trust ourselves enough to let go of what we know, to move into maybe what we don't know, but that feels more in alignment with where we are right now. And that is a move of trust. So does this bring me peace? If not, I release and let go. That was my daily question. I knew if it brought me peace, I would continue doing it. And if it did not bring me peace, I would release it. But please keep in mind, I already said this, but I want to repeat it. Please keep in mind that it doesn't mean what you're doing is bad. It simply means it's not time for it right now. Yeah. And that is also the behavior of a mature spiritual student who learns to trust at a deep level himself or herself. I release what I know for that which I don't know. But the second question will help you too, because the second question is, what brings me joy? And you've often heard me say, joy is the success vibration. Joy is the success vibration. So my adding to, interestingly, because the next year I worked with the question, what brings me joy? What brings me joy? And rather than a releasing, that interestingly was sometimes it was activities to start doing. What brings me joy? And am I making time for this? Yeah. What brings me joy? And just note, when I would ask that question in the morning, I would then take that question, with me throughout the day as I was working, as I was teaching, as I was ministering. And I discovered the way I was very joy filled. And like in working with clients, one of the things I learned about myself during that time was that as much as I liked working with clients, I did not particularly like working on Zoom with clients for a number of reasons. And one of the reasons was that clients were so focused on how they looked, it would take them 10 or 15 minutes to get to the point, and I wanted to really help them. And when there's phone sessions, it's not about that at all, and the work begins right away. And so, I was feeling like I was getting tired and they were getting distracted, and that it was not bringing me joy, even though I love helping people. So it was like, okay, how do I want to do this client work? Because I love these clients. And so I realized, oh, well, how I want to try to do it is a phone session. And because until I started asking that question, I didn't really realize that. I just thought this is what you do. This is what you do. You do video sessions. But that question, what brings me joy, brought me to a new way of doing it. So yes, I did release something, but it was more about what was the new activity and how did that bring me joy. And it brought me joy because I could get right to it and I could help them even more deeply, more fully, because they weren't worried about how they looked or how I looked or, whatever. It was about the work together. So this is a wonderful question to center, to help me trust myself. And then what's so great is as I would make a decision, I would see if it worked because of how I felt. And that helped me trust my decisions even more. When I made a decision to leave the church I had been employed by for, nearly 3 years, Unity North Tampa, I'd only signed a 2-year contract. So I'd long fulfilled my contract, but I loved the people so much, I kept wanting to stay. But that question of what brings me peace, it wasn't bringing me peace because of how long the commute got. The longer I worked there, the more I was commuting. And it was really creating a struggle in my life. It was creating a struggle with my son because I wasn't home enough. It was creating a struggle in my spirit. I felt like I was putting too many miles on my vehicle. It was not bringing me peace. And then as soon as I made that decision to leave, even though I love them and still do to this day, that next question of what brings me joy is I know I love to minister, so I could make a new step towards a ministry that was much, much closer to my home. And I'm having the time of my life there. So many wonderful things have happened in my life since beginning that ministry. So those situations have helped me navigate and really strategize. How do I make good decisions? And to begin to trust myself even more deeply with the larger life questions. Helping my son with his college, helping my son, get a car, helping my son, do all those many things. That inner guide, that inner compass, that inner trust of asking those two simple questions have really been a guiding force in learning to trust myself more deeply. That daily journaling piece that I so often speak of too, of tapping into spirit every day and asking, what is my I am for the day? What is mine to do? What are the top 3 things, Spirit, you want me to do today? And then trusting that, moving forward to do that. And learning to do that for me was about, even if I didn't understand what the guidance was about what I am to do for the day, to write those 3 things down anyway and see how it's made manifest. That's helped me trust even more, because as I write it down and trust, things would fall away and the things I had written down had time to come forward. So my friends, trusting yourself and learning to trust yourself deeply is a process. What helps are those questions. What brings me peace? If it doesn't bring me peace, I stop doing it. And then what brings me joy? Maybe I start doing it. And then taking time every single day to be quiet and to listen to the voice of Spirit. Every single day asking God, what is mine to do today? What is mine to do today? I'm trusting your will, your guidance, your voice within me, and then I'm going to move forward to do what is mine to do. What brings me peace? First question. Second question, what brings me joy? And then finally, what is mine to do today? Very, very simple questions with profound consequences. Profound. What brings me peace? What brings me joy? What is mine to do today? And then what I often like to do with my spiritual work Sometimes I'll carry one of my journals around. If you haven't gotten my intentions journal, those are available on Amazon. And I love to just have that journal in my backpack or purse. It's kind of small. And if I use my bigger one, I have it tucked in my calendar so that as I go throughout my day or I open my calendar, it's right there. If I'm going to be on the road, I'm not going to have it with me. I often take a picture so that I can tap into what that guidance was for the day and kind of keep it top of mind so I don't get distracted by the various activities of the day, that I always want to be touching into what has Spirit guided me to do today. And that helps elevate my consciousness to a place of receptivity every day. And that helps me also trust my process even more, to stay connected to Spirit. I know several people reached out and told me when we talked about the prayer novena, I guess, gosh, Sean, I don't even remember when it was. Seems like it was forever ago now. It might have only been 4 to 6 weeks ago, but we had talked about doing a prayer on the hour, every hour during your workday. And several people said that the difference that made was tremendous because of how connected they felt. Like they never felt overwhelmed or unable to make the right decision because they were connected throughout the day to Spirit. So, my friends, staying connected to Spirit is very, very important to maintain that trust of ourselves and our life path along the journey. And I want to really encourage you to stay connected to Spirit, yes, but also unplug from some of the outer influences so you are not overly impacted by negative energies. I think that is going to be very, very important for your life and for your journey, to learn to trust yourself. It's hard to trust yourself and know what's yours to do when there's all this outer noise. It's almost like a cacophony of sound right now. And so to unplug from that, reconnect with Spirit regularly throughout the day, keep looking back at that list of what's mine to do today. Keep asking those questions. You're going to find trusting yourself becomes more and more second nature, and certainly your life will be full of more ease and grace. My hope for each of us really along this journey we call life is that we begin to be empowered at a deep, deep level. And that empowerment comes from the soul. I have really learned that if we seek to live life only from the mind, in other words, what is only logical, sometimes we miss the gift of what the soul can give us, because the soul is connected to eternity. The soul is aware of what's going on here and now, but also aware of what's coming. And the soul can connect with the timeless aspect of us. The soul can connect with the spirit of all that is. And the soul knows far more than the mind. So that soul aspect is what we seek to live from. So, my friends, this is my hope for you, that you will begin to ask these questions. What brings me peace? If it doesn't bring you peace, you are to stop doing it. What brings me joy? What brings me joy? And maybe that's something I'm going to start doing. Sean, will you put that banner up just for those of, yes. And then finally asking, what is mine to do today? What is mine to do today? And then keeping track of that on your page, checking in, and then finally staying connected to Spirit, whether that's doing a prayer on the hour, whether that's looking at your list ongoing, whether that's speaking to God and keeping these questions alive in your consciousness. The other piece I want to give you, just as a reminder today, in staying connected to Spirit, and we spoke about this last week too with Vivian, is to begin to take deep breaths throughout the day, and that you can find your center quickly, even easily, if you begin to develop this habit in your spiritual life. So simply going outside, hugging a tree, sitting at your desk. I love to hold a stone or a piece of wood, something very grounding, and take 3 deep breaths, 5 deep breaths, and know that wherever I am, God is, and to know the answers lie within me, and I can trust myself fully, freely, with ease and grace, because God lives in me. So I can stay connected because I trust myself, because I know God. I'm seeking to live from soul. And this is how I learn and grow. God lives in me, my friends. And staying connected to spirit is exactly how I will learn to trust myself more deeply. So as we end our time together today, I'm going to take 5 deep breaths with you. And if you're driving, don't do it. Okay. But if you're at your desk or your home, see if you can pause a few moments, put down what you're doing, and it'll probably take a minute or two, simply to take 5 deep breaths with me, to reconnect to spirit, to reconnect to the source of all that is, and be able to trust yourself more fully. And we end this time with a prayer. I am aligned with the presence of God within. I am protected by God's love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace. The God consciousness within helps me discover more about who I am. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual discernment. Thank you, God, for aligning my conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for listening today, my dear friends, and blessings on the journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2025 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Sean Kilgore. A production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated. Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.